Welcome to Bumpa Chat, the podcast where volleyball professionals come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today, from the UConn Huskies, senior, starting libero, Karly Berkland. Welcome to Bumpa Chat, a podcast for volleyball professionals and players to come share their stories, journeys, and advice. And today, I have Karly Berkland. Welcome.
Hi.
So glad you're here, and you're with the UConn Huskies. You're a libero, and it's your senior year, right?
I know, unfortunately.
Oh, you're gonna miss it.
So much.
Oh, man. Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
All right. So the way we start things off on the pod is three random questions. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So what was the last TV show or movie you watched?
Currently watching Snowfall.
Okay.
It's a little on the darker side. It's not like a very bright TV show. It's kind of about these drug dealers, and they're kind of all connected.
Okay.
And it's very intense, but it's what I'm watching right now.
All right, cool. All right, so you're heading home for a visit. You haven't been home in a while. What's the home cooked meal you're looking forward to the most?
Okay, my dad makes really good like shrimp mac and cheese, or like seafood mac and cheese. So he throws in like lobster and shrimp and mac and cheese. I always get judged by it because they're like, seafood in the Midwest, how good is that? And I'm like, okay, but hear me out, it's pretty good. So I'm really excited for that. I do like stroganoff, or stroganoff, however anyone says it. My mom usually makes that for me whenever I come home at least once. Yeah, those are my top two.
All right, there we go. All right, final question. You're hitting the road for a road trip. What's on your music playlist, or you listen to a podcast or an audiobook?
I'll probably listen to music.
Yeah.
Sure. And I feel like it also depends on if I'm doing homework. If I'm doing homework, I don't like to listen to songs that I know, because then I won't lock in. So sometimes I'll play a random playlist. Or if I just want to like sit on a plane, listen to music, I have a variety. Like there's pop, there's K-pop, there's rap, there's country. So it kind of shifts.
All right, there we go. All right, so let's get into this. So where are you from?
I'm from Iowa, Williamsburg, Iowa.
And now were you the only athlete in the family? Were your parents athletes or your sisters?
So everyone in my family is pretty athletic. My parents both played sports. They both coached. That kind of got me into sports as well. All my sisters, so I have three sisters, Whitney, Kelsa, and Meg. Now, the older two, they really got me into volleyball because I would always have to go to their tournaments. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. I want to do this. And so, like, I even copied my older sister's number. Like, I want to be number 4. Well, at the time, it was number 4. And yeah, so we all played golf, volleyball, basketball. I feel like a lot of us attempted soccer, but it never lasted.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we enjoy sports.
All right. So now, how's the season going so far? You know, this is your final year.
The way I came into the season was to just give my all. I knew it was going to be a lot different from last year because we graduated a lot of people, a lot of personalities, a lot of leaders. And so the goal of this season for me was just to like ball out for my last year, do what I can to enjoy it. And I mean, I have enjoyed it so far. Our record isn't really showing what I would like, because I'm very competitive, love to win. And so that is hard to not to go out on a winning record, but I've still loved every second of it.
Excellent. And you guys have a young team too. So like you said, you lost a lot of seniors last year, and you know, it's you can't expect a lot of people to just jump in and be ready to go and
yeah, it is difficult at that point because not only is there a lot of young people, there's not a lot of older people for like the young people to fully look up to and be like, oh, this is exactly what they do. I'm going to replicate it. So we're kind of like rebuilding in a whole different way.
Yeah. And now also this year, you guys have got a brand new volleyball facility. How do you like playing in that versus, playing in Gamble?
I did like the history of Gamble. Like, I feel like there's a lot of greats that played there. But it's nice to have our own home to recreate our own memories and our own history. If we get a banner, it gets to go up in our own facility, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
We never have to be like, oh, is basketball in on practice at this time? We can just go in whenever, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Airflex is amazing.
Excellent. And now, how are you enjoying Connecticut? So you're from Iowa by way of Houston, and your last few years in Connecticut.
Yeah, I am a big fan of the East Coast. I It's very different from Iowa because Iowa is very open and flat, where there's so many trees. And I'm like, I feel like I'm claustrophobic with all the like row of trees happening, but I love the foliage and the colors of the trees. I love the temperature. I kind of like Connecticut being like, oh, here's Boston, here's New York,
Mm-hmm.
but enjoyed both places. So
Nice. And now, when you're done this year, are you going to be sticking around or moving home, or where do you think you'll end up?
So about that. Yeah, so I'm graduating in December. And then my plan is to try to find a grad assistant place for like usually that lasts about like 2 years. I've wavered between like, do I try to get a job right away at coaching or not? I don't know. I personally see myself being a pretty good coach. I feel like I would enjoy recruiting kids, bringing them in. I know I had a good experience, so I want them to have a good experience. Um, and I don't see myself leaving the volleyball scene.
Nice. That's good. Cool. All right. So you said you discovered volleyball really through your sisters playing. What was the hook it had on you?
It's actually funny. I was just talking about this with a group of people. Um, so at first, when I was really, really little, I was either going to be a cheerleader or a pro basketball player. So those are like my two. My mom was a volleyball coach. Every day after school, I'd be in there at practice. I'd be like, Mom, can I jump in the butterfly drill? And she's like, oh, fine. So I'd be like, yes, they're doing butterfly today. And then once I turned 11, I joined a club team. I joined Iowa Rockets and I played my first tournament. And again, I was still really into basketball. So my very first tournament, I had a volleyball tournament in the morning, basketball tournament in the afternoon. So I could only play like 3 games of the volleyball, and then I had to drive 2 hours to go to my basketball tournament. And I remember like after my first or second game, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to go to the basketball tournament. I don't want to go. She's like, oh, Karly, you are on the team. We said you would go. You have to go. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then I played my last game. We're on the road. I said, Mom, I want to be a D1 volleyball player. And it's been my goal since I was 11. So
Wow. And now, was Libero your spot right from the get-go?
yeah, I was small as a kid. My two older sisters were setters. But for some reason I just loved being a libero. So I was like, I'm gonna stick to the back row.
Nice. And now, in high school, you played volleyball. Did you play any other sports as well?
Yeah. My freshman year, I did basketball, golf, and volleyball. And then once it got closer to like my junior, senior year, I quit basketball because it kind of interfered with club a little bit. And so then I did volleyball and golf.
Nice. And now, in the rankings of sports, where does volleyball sit where you're from? Was volleyball like a number one sport, or falls behind basketball or softball?
Mm-hmm. I'd say that I feel like it's growing a lot in a lot of different states,
Hmm.
including Iowa. So I think volleyball is slowly starting to be closer to number one. I feel like we might battle with basketball. I feel like softball's pretty big. I feel like in Iowa, everyone plays like every sport.
Yeah.
It's not like we have this one sport that you're like playing. I feel like with small town Iowa, like everyone plays like 3 sports.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Now, I'm from Canada originally. Volleyball was big for both boys and girls. I played it through middle school all the way up. What about it like out in your neck of the woods? Was there a boys volleyball team or?
there's not a lot. I think I remember maybe like two um boy club volleyball teams. It's not that popular. I mean, I'd love for it to be more popular because I feel like if you open up opportunities, people will come.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and that's been interesting to see here that there's a lot more men's volleyball like clubs
Yeah.
in the east side or east coast.
And now how, we talked a little bit about club. How important was club volleyball to you to, to develop your skills and keep keep you going?
Um, it was so important. It stapled down my basic skills. It made it enjoyable. It made me love it more. The competition was a lot higher than in high school.
Yeah.
So that was also really important to be able to see like other D1 or like Power 5 athletes like hitting against me. So it got me a lot better. If you only play basketball and then you don't play, or sorry, if you only play volleyball in season and then you don't do anything out of season, like you're just not going to be better. But with club, not only are you just like practicing, but you're competing against the best in the country,
Yeah.
even with all these big tournaments that you go to.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
really important. Not only for like volleyball skill, but also for recruiting.
Yeah. So now I saw you originally started playing in Houston. What was the recruitment process like? What made you, pick Houston from, going from Iowa all the way down south?
Well, the recruiting process was long and annoying, but I committed. So it started off, there wasn't any rules in like how young you could recruit. Now they're different, which
Yeah.
I think is good because there a lot of times that people in eighth grade were committing to schools, and I'm like, how do you even know?
Wow.
How do you even know? Yeah, a lot of my team, especially my club team, they committed like freshman, sophomore year. And then I committed my junior year,
Yeah.
like beginning of junior year. But I went on my first visit after eighth grade. So like going into my freshman year, I went and I visited like a few schools, and that was like the start. And then I committed to Arkansas State in my junior year. And then all of a sudden I get a call from the coach. They're like, hey, going to Houston. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow you. Because at the time I'm like, this is the guy I want to play with.
Yeah.
And so I followed him to Houston and I played for 2 years there.
Okay. And how was that Houston experience? Yeah, how was, first of all, going to Houston from Iowa? It's a different sort of, environment
It was
completely.
so different. It was so different, which is funny because I went and visited Houston with the old coaching staff. And I was there, I was like, oh, Houston's too big. I don't like it. I don't like it. But then I ended up going there. So my bad. Um, but then yeah, so I went to Houston. The city was a lot. What I was used to being safe in Iowa with. So like I could leave my keys and car running outside a gas station and walk in and be fine and not
Yeah.
have to worry. I wouldn't have to like lock my car every time I leave. And people were like, you got in the car and you didn't lock the keys. Like you have to get in the car, lock the door quick because someone could like come and like open it. So I'm like, oh, I didn't know all these rules. I was like, I need like a rule book of how to be safe. But I mean, it was fun. It was a fun city. Houston's really fun. They always got something good going on. They have amazing food. It was really fun.
And now how was your that first year, your freshman, was it a big adjustment getting to that used to that level of play?
Hmm. What I liked about it was that, like with high school and club, like, is lackadaisical and a little bit where like college is like strict and
Yeah.
like you're like, you gotta be on, you gotta be here, you gotta do this. I enjoyed that. I thrived on that. I thrive on like really high level, high competitive atmosphere, and Houston had that. Um, I was terrified of the seniors when I first got there. I was like, oh God, don't be mad at me. Like, am I doing this right? I was like, do I even wear my armbands? They're not wearing armbands. If I knew what I know now, I'm like, put your armbands on. But yeah, it was different, but I liked it.
Yeah.
The pace was really fast. You had to learn things fast. You had to listen and know what to do and change your defense. And then all of a sudden, they're picking out little things that I didn't even think of. Like, Karly, your top shoulder is not pressing hard enough when you pass. I was like, oh. So it's
Wow.
just little tips
Yeah.
that I wouldn't even think of that I feel like D1 college coaches are really good at
It is night and
pointing.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And now what was the hardest thing about that first year for you?
I would say homesickness for
Yeah.
sure. It's hard to go like how far away is that? Like it was like 12 hours, 14 hours, maybe more. 14 hours away from my family.
Yeah.
I only got to see them like at a few away games. They came and visited for some home games, but obviously the adjustment freshman year for like almost any distance is hard to be away from your family, especially in like new environments that are uncomfortable. So I feel like that is what, and I feel like every D1 athlete kind of goes through that, or
Yeah.
just athletes in general going to college. Like you're like, oh, like today was hard. I wish I had my mom.
It must be tough because you're going from, for a college kid to go away, that's one whole experience you got to get used to. And now as
Yes.
a college athlete, that's a whole nother level. So you're, double the
Oh,
expectations and stress.
oh, for sure. Because not only are like in high school, like, I mean, your parents might be like, hey, are you getting your homework done? But now coaches are like, do you have this done? You didn't get a good grade here. You need to do study hall. And you're like, oh gosh, school, volleyball, life, like
Yes.
everything, boom. And you're like, oh no. But it's all worth it.
Excellent. And now what advice would you have for that, that freshman or that senior that's listening to this now, getting ready to go to their, first year of college next year to play ball?
I'd have to say, one thing that I didn't think of is that coaches recruit you to play how you play. And there's times where I would try to be like, oh, because the libero of the time, like she did this, maybe I need to try to do that, or I need to be more like that. When they're recruiting you for the style of your play, so don't try to adjust too much. Just kind of ball out on your own. As for like the stress of like school and everything just kind of like coming on you, you're gonna adjust. You're gonna adjust. You're gonna get a routine. Um, it's all gonna be okay. You can take a deep breath and you're gonna get used to it.
Excellent. Perfect. And now, over the years, playing ball and, not including any injuries, but was there anything that you struggled with that you had to overcome that maybe, you know, during some drill, it made a click and all of a sudden, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I definitely the first couple years, I kind of struggled with consistency. Like I would have a really good day and then like a really off day. And part of that side was very much like the mental side. I did struggle with some mental health when I was in Houston, which obviously is going to make it harder if to stay consistent, stay locked in, be good as an athlete when you're thinking about, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm not this. So I think a lot of that is just to stay confident and just not let a single error affect five more. Because my dad always says this: if you're scared to make one error, you're going to make five more.
Yeah.
And that's so true. And like the moment you have your confidence, you don't dwell on past mistakes, and you stay like consistent with your mind, your skill is also going to stay consistent.
Yep. Absolutely. Sort of like, from Ted Lasso, be a goldfish, short-term memory.
Be a goldfish.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, any Houston highlights that stick out while you were there that, like, wow, that was really, a fun time. It was a great moment.
We were regular season champs my second year there, which was fun. Um, we played in a really nice, we played in Fertitta. That was a really nice place to play in. So like going in freshman year, you're like, oh, this is what D1 volleyball is about. Like, this is so cool. And then obviously like the friends that I made there and the bond that we have that like we went through, like your teammates, only your teammates will know like what you go through, and you're bonded by that. You're like, yeah, remember this one insane workout we about all died in? Like, that's just a memory that you'll have forever.
Yeah.
And so I'm really grateful for the people that I met there.
Nice. And now, transitioning from Houston to UConn, what prompted the move?
I what prompted the move was I kind of wanted a new start. I feel like my ideas of the way like my brain worked and the Houston coach's brain worked, like they didn't go super well together.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I would be a better asset to another team. And so I wanted a new environment. So I went to the portal and I'm like, hey, let me just test it. Let's just try. And then I think I emailed like every school in the NCAA. And I reached out to UConn, and then Matt Scott, he reached out to me and we had a phone call. Everything clicked. We talked forever. He's a great guy. And then he told me about UConn, and I heard of UConn due to obviously basketball.
Right.
But learning about like how the head coach is, I loved how it was a female head coach, played pro. So I was like, love that she has experience.
Mm-hmm.
Love that she's a female head coach. Love women in power. And I was really drawn to like the culture that they were trying to build.
Yeah. Nice. And how was the adjustment, from Houston to UConn? You have the environment is different altogether from like, hot and the Four Seasons like we talked about earlier. But now you're in a new team. What was that adjustment like?
So, let's see. It was a different environment where there's sometimes where like Houston was like this, which isn't a wrong or bad environment. Like that's still like it's working. They're a very good team. Where like UConn and some things were like, hey, a little more flow instead of
Yeah.
There's times where like the head coach would like ask me, or like Ellen would ask me like, oh, why did you do this? And I was like, oh, well, I did it because this. And we like have a discussion. That's how we learned. And that's how we're like, oh, this is why you're making mistakes. And that was different.
Yeah.
And I liked it. And she really relieves pressure off of like, oh, if I don't stick this pass, then I'm like gonna be pulled. Like she makes it like, hey, it's okay that you made a mistake, but do you know why you did it? So that was like kind of a little bit of the difference in environment, which I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we've been up to a couple of games, and it just your whole team looks like it's a good group of players. Everybody's having fun, but serious when you need to be serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now looking back, that transition, if there's somebody's listening to this podcast is sort of the same boat that you were, like, maybe thinking about transferring to a different school, what kind of advice or things that they should, sort of, keep in mind?
Yeah. I mean, my dad said, life is too short to be in a place where you're not happy. So if you're really not in a happy place and you think that finding a new environment will be better for you, by all means, do it. There's a lot of stress that obviously comes into the portal. I mean, there's no guarantee that you'll be picked up. And it's like, oh no, like what if I like have to go somewhere I don't like again? Like there's no, like if just because you leave one environment doesn't mean the next environment is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So like that part is nerve-wracking. Gratefully, I found a great place and I loved that I transferred. Like I said, if you're unhappy, by all means, go find a new place.
Yeah, because like once you put your name out there, then does your coach already know that you're looking to?
Yes. So you have to go to your coach and be like, hey, I'm wanting to transfer. They had to sign a paper. Yeah. Well, this is what happened when I was transferring. They had to sign a paper that allowed you to go into the portal, and then you were able to do whatever. Yeah. You can talk to whoever. And gratefully, so it was actually funny because Scotty, coaches can call other coaches. So Scotty called Houston and they spoke well on my behalf, which I'm grateful for. Nice. And everything went well from there.
Excellent. So now, with volleyball being a fall sport, you don't have a lot of time to get ramped up. Sort of school starts, you guys are hitting the road and starting to play. It's, when that's, and then you add in the kids who are freshmen, adding that aspect into it. It's not easy to, get up and running right away, is it?
No, it's especially as a freshman, once you have like a spring, you kind of get to work on the details. But when you're like a freshman coming in for your first fall, it's like, here's what you got to know. Here's a broad what you got to know. And it's our jobs as players to like get the job done and like do what we're asked. So it is quick, but you have to be willing to adjust quick and learn quick. Yeah. I think that's a tool that you have to have.
And now, do you guys meet at all over the summer, or, do the players meet, get to just warm up or train or, do anything? Or is it really, beginning of, sort of mid-August, that's when everything starts?
So we go home like at the end of the school year. Throughout most of the summer, you do like your own thing. Like sometimes I'll go play with my club, or we'll have like a gym open that you can go do kind of
Yeah.
whatever in. They send us workouts to do in the summer. And then in July we go back, and then that's when we can do open gyms,
Yeah.
and that's when we can play with each other. But no coaches are
Right.
allowed.
And now, what is that first practice of the year like? Everybody's seeing each other. The coaches are coming in. For you being the senior in a couple of years, is like that's just like seeing old friends again. But for the freshmen, it's probably, all right, coach is here.
Well, it's funny. So it's funny because what I'm thinking about is the first practice back from the summer, where there's some people that are like, you're like, you have to readjust because like I could go play at club, but it's still not the same speed of like Taylor hitting a C on me or like a one, like boom. So I'm like, I have to readjust to that speed. I think that's the most fun practice because one, everyone's there, everyone's just having fun. We don't do like a skill drill. We do like, let's play Queen of the Court for 2 hours, get the rust off, get to play with each other. And it's just a lot of fun because everyone is fresh body and ready to just like jump into everything and very eager.
Yeah. Nice.
Um,
Those early practices or early get-togethers, what kind of like team bonding things do you guys get to do you guys sort of do to sort of get everybody sort of, back in pace?
we've done in the summer when we first get here in July, we usually hang out as a team a lot. So we live in dorms together before we move into like our fall housing. So everyone's living like on the same floor. Everyone keeps the door open. So you just walking in and
Oh,
out of
nice.
like, oh, hey, who's in this room? Oh, no one's in this room. Hey, who's in this room? I think that's where a lot of the bonding starts. And that's a lot of fun because you're just hanging out with all your girls.
Excellent. And now, for those freshmen that are going to be coming into college, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Oof, okay, so what I would recommend is that always find time to just take a breath because it is a lot of things coming at you. You're going to learn a lot of new stuff, new lingo, new form, new technique. Like a lot of it is going to come at you at once. Just know that you are more than willing to handle it. And as long as you are trying your best, that's like the best you can do.
Excellent. All right. So now, what does an average week look like for you guys? Say if you say it's a travel week, you guys gonna. So what happens Monday? You guys practicing right up until Friday before you leave, or what does a week look like for you?
So sometimes it depends on if we play Friday, Saturday. This past week we played Friday, Sunday. So Monday was our off day. A lot of times it's usually Sundays our off day. Monday it's usually like we have lift. We have kind of like a heavier workload at practice. And then Tuesday we lift again. Again, it's like a practice, but I think we start to do a little bit more scout base. So we're kind of seeing like, oh, hey, this team runs this in row 3. We'll practice it Wednesday. We start to scout the other team that we play in the like closer. So Tuesday is like the Saturday game.
Yeah.
Wednesday is the Friday game. So then we go through their scouts, what they do. Um, and then Thursdays before a game, it's a lighter workload. Again, more scouting. And then Fridays game day.
And what's the travel like? Do you guys all sort of travel together, and what's that whole experience like?
Yeah, traveling is the best. That's where I feel like a lot of memories come from. Like that's the time that you will remember, like at the airport, on the bus. We'll travel on Thursday, so the day before the game. Sometimes we'll fly, sometimes we'll bus, depending on what school. Um, and then we'll get to the school, usually have like a practice that night, go back to the hotel, sleep,
Yeah.
and then wake up in the morning and play.
Nice. So now, during your years, did you have to, did you have any injuries, any big injuries over the years, or were you pretty much, injury free?
Yeah, gratefully I haven't had anything serious. Um, thank goodness.
Yes.
So I've had a little oh, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. My worst injury actually was when I dislocated and broke my finger.
Ow.
We were doing like digging, and I was with my coach, and we are working on digging in front. So like if I'm here, like the ball's here, and you have to like push to get under it. I didn't push far enough or low enough to the ball, and it like hit my finger weird. And so it was like looking like this.
Oh.
I was like, I dove, and I'm like, I dislocated my finger. And my coach was like, no, you didn't. I'm like, I dislocated my finger. I was like, I did. And then she was like, Kmart. And so we got Kmart. I was like, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. I just said, fix it, fix it, fix it. It looked so weird. And like after she like popped it back in, it was fine. But I was sitting down, and Allie Garland came up to me, and she was like, what did it look like? Which way was it facing? Did you feel it pop out? And she was asking me all these questions. I was like, oh, and I just turned pale, and I'm like, Kmart, I think I'm gonna puke. Like, Allie, you're not helping right now. Oh gosh. But yeah, so that was unfortunate because it hurt so bad after, because I like kind of chipped a bone a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't just tape these two fingers, and you can't wear like a cast. Like
No.
you can't with a finger. So if I only taped these two, like this finger would like hit it and it would hurt. So then I did these 3 fingers together, and then she didn't want my pinky out because then your pinky could get hurt.
Right.
So I just taped all 4 fingers together, and I wrapped it, but I made sure to make a little curve.
Yeah.
So then I go into my platform like that. So I just kind of taped it. And this is how I played for like the rest of the season, is with like a little claw hand. I haven't had anything else. I've sprained my hand and wrist because I went to go for a ball. She hit, and it like, I don't know, it like hit weird.
Yeah.
So like the whole palm was bruised in my wrist. So I had to be in a little brace for that. But luckily that was going into like a break, like the Christmas break. So I just didn't play. And then a pulled hamstring. That happened my first year at UConn. Pulled my hamstring, and those are just annoying because you can like retweak it the time, and so that's been a little bothersome. But like I said, nothing
That's good.
Insane.
Excellent. All right, so Peter sent over a few questions. Peter, the assistant coach over there, he primed me with a couple of questions. So one of them is, speaking of travel earlier, he said, he wanted me to ask you about if there's any travel adventures or interesting stories from that realm.
Of course he would ask me. So I went on a little excursion. I was going to go see BTS, who is a K-pop artist who me and my best friend, Anna, we love them. We're obsessed with them. They were only having one concert out of the whole year and at one location, and that was Las Vegas. This was in the spring, and the concert was on Saturday. So like I'd be able to go. And I told the coaches, I'm like, I'm going to this concert. I'm so excited. So had my flight. I was going to fly out Friday night, and then fly out of Las Vegas, literally like the night of the concert, like at midnight, like a red-eye flight. And that didn't go as planned at all. Like all of that did not happen. Where do I even start? Went to the airport. My first flight was canceled. They didn't have a pilot. And I didn't hear that happening because I had my headphones in. But then I was sitting behind these other pilots, and they're like, yeah, Vegas flight's canceled. And I turned and I was like, what'd you just say? They're like, yeah, it's canceled. Sorry. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I like text some of my friends. I was like, guys, can you come pick me up from the airport? My flight's canceled. I don't know what to do. And then I was like panicking. I was like, Mom, Dad, is there a flight out of Boston? Like I have to make this concert, because not only was it like a once a lifetime thing, I had VIP floor tickets. So I had to make it. Like I had to make it. So I found a flight out of Boston at like 6 a.m. the next morning. So my friend drove me to Boston. I stayed at one of her friend's apartments. And I stayed there, which I'm grateful for them driving me all the way to Boston. I spent the night there, woke up at 6 a.m., went to the airport. That flight went to Salt Lake City, Utah. I get there, I land. I'm like doing my makeup because I'm like, oh, like I have to, like, I'm going to have to jump off the plane and go straight to the concert. And then all of a sudden, a delay.
Oh,
a delay
no.
happened. And I'm like, no. And then another delay. I was like, oh my gosh. So now I'm missing the pre-check or like the sound check
Yeah.
I don't know, VIP thing. So I'm missing the VIP thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. And I see this girl had a backpack of one of the artists' like logo. So I was like, why are you going to Vegas? And she was like, oh, I'm going to a concert. I'm like, is that concert BTS? And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, do you want to rent a car? Because I wasn't old enough because I was not 25.
Yeah.
She was old enough. And I was like, would you want to rent a car and drive to Las Vegas? I said, I don't think this plane is going up. I don't think it's taking off. And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, ponder it, think about it. If we leave now, we will make the concert. All of a sudden she goes, all of a sudden there's a thing and it said flight canceled. I was like, we have to. She's like, okay, let's go. So it was like me. It was two strangers. They were sisters, me and one other girl. But the other girl, she's like, wait, I checked my luggage. I'm like, she called me and she's like, can you get the rental car and then I'll get my luggage. I'm like, okay. All of a sudden we're at the rental car. I call her. I was like, I'm sorry, we have to go. I'm so sorry for your loss, but we gotta go. So we left her. I felt so bad.
Oh my God.
We left her and we went driving to the concert and we drove, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours, maybe 5 hours.
With strangers.
With strangers. Yes. With strangers. I called my dad. I think I even texted the coaches like, I am in the car with strangers, but it's okay. I am safe. I trust them, blah, blah, blah.
Hang on, you trust them even though you've only known them for a couple hours, but you know, dad must be freaking out. It's like, oh my God.
I don't even know what his reaction was. I think he was like, well, I can't stop her. So I'm just going to pray she's going to be okay. There was only one time I thought that I was not like, I thought they left me at a gas station. So they're like, okay, we're going to stop at the gas station. We're going to change into our outfits. And then we're going to get in the car and go. Like we have to, like, it has to be a quick stop and go. And so I go into the gas station, I change into my concert. So I'm wearing like cute skirt, cute top. And I walk out and the car is not at the gas pump anymore. Mind you, it was like all of my computer, my wallet, my phone, I left in the car. And I was like, they left me and I'm stuck in the middle of Utah. I was terrified. I was like holding my shoes and this lady comes up and she goes, are you lost, ma'am? And I was like, oh, my friends are playing a prank on me. They moved the car. They're like, oh, what car? What color was the car? I was like, it was a black car. And all of a sudden I hear Karly off in the distance.
Oh.
They moved to the parking lot beside. And I was like, and it wasn't even a black car. It was a white car. I was so rushed when we were at the airport. I didn't even know what color of car I got in. It was crazy. But they ended up, they were really nice. They drove all the way to the concert. We went to the concert. My flight was at the airport at midnight after the concert. And they drove me to the airport too. So they were really nice girls. They're actually from Boston. Yeah, I'll have a memory with them for my rest of my life.
Yep. Wow. Okay. I don't think anything has ever topped that. It's like planes, trains, and automobiles. Holy cow.
It was crazy. And it was the best concert of my life. So.
Wow. All right. So it was worth it.
So worth it.
Your dad aged a few years probably, but you know, it was worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, all right. So now I guess let's jump back into volleyball. So you know,
not to say that.
Oh, that was great. That was a great story. So now, you know, on the team, you know, does anybody have any superstitions like before game or, you know, anything like that? Or who's the joker amongst this, you know, this crew?
I think everyone's pretty funny. Big jokers are probably me, Taylor, for sure. We like to brighten the mood up a lot.
Well, that's who Peter said. He said you and Taylor were the, you know, and he said that your music was good, but sometimes he thinks he has a better playlist.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go with it.
I think, okay, what Peter does is he caters to everyone. So he'll have like this type of music genre this day, this music genre this day. Sometimes this genre doesn't go well with this group of people because they don't like it, but then the next day he'll cater to them. So he does a good job at spreading out the genres for everybody.
Good.
As for superstitions, who has I know people do. I'm trying to think of the specifics. Um, I know there's a lot of times where I meditate before a game. I have my song and I needed it a lot more for last year than this year
Yeah.
and like previous years because it's not that I get anxiety to play, but I would get so excited. I'd be like, okay, when's warm up? Okay, when are the coaches coming in? Okay, when's pregame meal? And I would get super antsy and like really excited, like, let's just go play. And I was like, Karly, you need to calm down. You need to breathe. So I use meditation for like more breathing techniques. And then I imagine myself like, okay, this girl, her scout is sharp cross. And I imagine myself digging sharp cross, serve, receive, serving. So that's something I've done. I think a lot of people have like specific socks they wear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know some people we used to have to do a team dance circle before the game.
Yeah.
So that mandatory.
Now, were you a fan of the mandatory dance circle? Because you can say this now because you got 2 more games left. Nobody's,
Oh, I was a huge fan. A huge fan. I'm not a great dancer, but I do like to dance. And it was a lot of fun. It got everyone excited. It got their blood pumping a little bit. It was fun.
Nice.
I enjoyed it.
So now, as a senior leader, what advice or guidance do you have for your teammates to maintain that morale and cohesion, for next year? What kind of, what do you have to say? Share it with them.
That's a good question.
You're handing the torch along now,
Oh, I know. I feel like what we have done is we've learned a lot of things that are going to work and what are not going to work. We've changed a lot of hold on, let me think. How do I put this in the right words? I think that we have learned how important it is to like play with your heart and play all out and like give everything you got. I think we need to maintain that. I think we've gotten better at that. Maintain being able to talk to other people the way they want to be like communicated with and like meeting them halfway. So this person's like, I don't like when you say this, but I like when you say this. And this person's like, okay, well, I'd say this if you say this. So it's like we worked a lot and we had a lot of team meetings about how to approach each other, how to communicate with each other. I think that's going to be vital in moving forward because again, like this is still like a new generation of UConn volleyball in a way. Yeah. And so I think is rebuild how you want to rebuild it, keep the things that we have been doing well and regrow things that we have not been doing well.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, and Peter was on. He talked about a mirror experiment or some mirror thing that you guys do to sort of help each other as well.
Yeah, so we did like a window mirror thing. So a window would be, I lose trust in you when you do this, and the person can't be like, well, why'd you say that? Blah, blah, blah. Like you can't like talk back. You have to ask questions of like, oh, do you see this when I do it in this situation or this situation? So it's like frustrating because you kind of want to just have a conversation back and forth, but like you can't. And it's like, it helps like keep it like a mature kind of conversation, a calm conversation. Mm-hmm. So that is helpful in it. I've mirrored myself a few times like, oh, I lose trust in myself when this happens.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to reflect on yourself and like see how other people view you. Because there's times where you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was affecting you, but it did. So it's like, okay, well, I guess I need to change that because I didn't realize how that affected you.
Oh, nice. Excellent. All right. Now, speaking of, from the Libero side of things, what kind of skills or mindset do you think are crucial for a Libero in the collegiate volleyball space? What's important? Or what's something that, kids could focus on?
The most important piece to a Libero is 100% your attitude. You have to be a person of like, I'm going to get every ball up I find joy when I frustrate the other side. That makes me so happy when, or like if I'm watching film and someone gets a really good hit and I get it up and you see the crowd go, uh-oh. Like that's my favorite thing in the world. So I think you need to find that um attitude of I'm getting every single ball up. I'm gonna be the one to get it up. Everything's mine, like type of thing. Like you need that see ball, get ball attitude. You also need to be consistent on serve receive because you're going to be in every serve receive like rotation. So I feel like you need to have a confident mindset with passing because you're supposed to be the best passer. You're going to be in every single time.
Yeah.
So I think that's also very vital.
Excellent. All right. So now, when the season's over, what happens from January on those 4 months? Do you guys still have practices like with no coaches, or what kind of, I get you because you still want to play ball somewhere. I got to think.
Yeah. So a lot of times in previous years I've been here, we've played like past Thanksgiving. So then like the moment you come back from Thanksgiving, you're kind of studying for finals.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we use that time to kind of take a little break from volleyball, take a little break from lifting and focus on getting those good grades in that. The gym again is always open for people who want to go in. Like you always have people going in for serve receive or hitting, or just if you're like a solo person, like go serve a ball. Like I see that a lot. And then there will be open hours. So there will be open hours that we can go lift, and our strength coach will have lift sheets for us.
Okay.
But no coaches are around them.
But are you able to, like, now with this new volleyball facility, in January, you guys going to be able to, hey, let's play some twos or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Definitely.
All right. So, senior night's coming up. I caught last year's senior night, and I don't know how you play after, that thing is done and now you get to go play a game. But, Peter, another Peter question. So he's asking, so last year you guys graduated with a lot of seniors, a lot of veterans, and, he's adjusting now to be the oldest on the team the following year. What's this going to be? It's got to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, it is. As for senior night, oof, I don't think it's gonna be good for me. It's gonna be a hard transition. It's been something I've been passionate about since I was 11. It's all I've known. I wake up and I'm like, what am I gonna do for volleyball today? Like, it's been a huge part of my identity, and now that it's gonna be done, I think it's gonna be very hard for me to adjust and like find a new passion, find something else that wakes me up every morning to like be excited for the day. Senior night was really special last year because that was a good group of girls. I was really close with a lot of them. And to like graduate that, knowing that they're graduating without me and that I was coming back, I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you guys so much. But they're doing great in their life right now, so that makes me excited. Like, okay, if they're okay, then I guess I'll be okay,
Yeah.
type of thing. But yeah, I'm excited for senior night.
Excellent. And now, over the last few years at UConn, any highlights? What's, anything that sticks out?
My favorite highlight is 100% going to be when we beat Creighton, and they were ranked like 15th in the country.
Yeah.
That was a really good win. That was a fun game because it was just like it. There was at no point in time. I remember the fifth set so vividly. I was like, we're not losing this game. Like everyone is flowing well. Everyone's doing their job. Everything's clicking right now. And I didn't even realize this, but I watched the game after the game, obviously. I was watching film and I was like, we were down like 13-12 or no, like 14-10. It was like 14-10. It was like really drastic. They may not have had 14. I forget the score, but not important. Anyways, as I'm watching, I was like, why was I not nervous? Why was I not like, guys, come on, like panicking, like, hey, are we going to win this game? Because it's so crazy because I was like, my mindset in the game was so calm. Like I had no doubt that we were not going to win this game. And I remember I went back to serve. We were down and I got an ace and I was like, what the heck? Like, it was just so fun. It was so fun because everything was clicking. Everyone on the court was calm. We knew that we were going to win that game and we did. And that was my best memory of volleyball ever.
Excellent. And now on the backside of that, what are you going to miss the most?
I think I'm gonna miss competing a lot. I'm gonna miss putting on a jersey, getting my name announced, balling out against having like beef with the outside player just because like she got a kill on me. Like I love competition. So I feel like competing I'm gonna miss a lot. I'm gonna miss the girls. I'm gonna miss having, and I was talking about this too recently. Like I'm gonna miss a locker room. Like you don't really have like a locker room like this like ever again where you just like walk in, there's someone on the beanbag, you kind of talk like, oh, someone's doing homework, someone's blaring music on the speaker. Like you're not going to just have a room to walk into and like share your frustrations with everyone, share what's been exciting. Like I'm going to miss the locker room a
Yeah.
lot.
All right. Yeah. And you know what? That's a really good point. Like I had a coach on who played pro ball in Europe and, talking to him about the difference. And he said, when you're playing the pros, it's your job. People there are, it's different than college. You've got that bond, like you were talking about. The locker room is, everybody just knows each other and you've traveled and yeah, you don't, yeah, there's probably not going to be another time where you relive that.
Yeah.
Oh man. And now any words to the coaches?
Um, I'd like to say thank you, obviously, for taking me in as a transfer because I knew UConn hasn't been like a big transfer. Like they don't intake a ton of transfers. They like to like usually like build their team from like their recruits and everything. So I'm grateful that they took a chance on me. Um, and they gave me the experience that I wanted and needed. I regained my confidence. I loved the sport again. And yeah, I'm happy that I'm ending my career with confidence to say
Yeah.
like I had the best, like some of the best moments of my life there.
Excellent. And what drill did you hate the most?
Ooh, okay. I think the coaches would probably know which drill I'm talking about. Actually, no, that probably wouldn't be my least favorite. I was gonna say the 5 minute drill, but that may not be my least favorite.
Now, what is the 5 minute drill?
So the point of the fight, we did this all spring. And like we would spend like a whole practice day on it. Like we would do one drill for that practice because it's something that we wanted to accomplish. So 5 minute drill is basically it's kind of like a butterfly in a way. It's similar. So you have right backs on both sides, setters, and then an outside. You start with the ball, pass, set, hit down the line, pass, set, hit down the line. You just do that little rotation and you like rotate on your side and you have to keep the ball alive for 5 minutes straight.
Oh,
I don't think you know how long 5 minutes are.
wow.
So, but we couldn't like free ball a ball over. So we would get, I think we got like 3 strikes or maybe 3 or 2 strikes. And so a strike would be a free ball over or like a tip over. So we would, and if you like free ball 3 balls over, like that was the end of the drill. You had to restart.
Oh,
So
wow.
it wasn't like you could just go easy on it. Like you had to like bump set hit, bump
Yeah.
set hit. And oh, it was so frustrating because it was just like there'd be times where you get like 2 minutes, and you're like, that has to be close. Like that has to be like 5 minutes. And they're like, 2 minutes. And it was just like, it's a hard drill, especially if it takes a while to complete it. You get frustrated easily.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? It's like, it seems like such an easy drill. Why can't you complete it? That was definitely a drill that I did not like.
Yeah. But what's not your least favorite though?
I know. I feel like there has to be one that's worse. Um, maybe I don't know. I don't like hitting lines. I don't like hitting lines only because it's like passing a free ball isn't that exciting, even
Yeah.
though it's you always have to be perfect at. Or you're on the other side and there's no blocking. You're like, oh God,
Strap on
oh
the helmet.
God.
Here it comes.
So if that is a drill, that would be my least
Okay.
favorite.
All right. So now, as you are moving on, this past year they introduced a new mascot, a new puppy for the Husky. Do you
Yeah.
get to take the old one? Are you gonna, is he going to go with you?
I think I don't know. I think I have been attached to both because me and the puppy, we had a little moment. He was running over he came to our practice and I was just like laying down, and all of a sudden he runs across, but he doesn't run across my chest. He ran across my face. And there's literally like a photo of the palm like this on my head as I'm on the ground. And I was like, wow. And I was like, okay, well, now we're bonded for life because he's so cute.
Yeah.
I like both. I like both.
So now, many young athletes aspire to play Division I level. What advice would you give to the kids to pursue their volleyball dreams?
I say if it's something that you want to do and you're serious about, by all means, put your all into it. It's going to take your all. It's not going to take like I might want to do it, might not. It's going to take everything. You might have to give up things. You might have to, like, it might kind of ruin your social life a little bit, but if it's something that you're passionate about and you really want to do,
yeah,
that's something you have to give up. Like, I didn't go to my prom my senior year. Yeah, I didn't go to my senior prom because I had nationals and I'm like, volleyball's more important.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that you need to, it's going to be hard, but if you put your mind to it, it's something you're passionate about, your hard work will make you go to where you need to go.
All right. Excellent. So final Peter question is about, he said to ask you about Bumpa, which is your grandpa. And he said, you're very close to him and big part of your life.
Yeah. You're gonna make me cry. I love Bumpa. So my Bumpa is my grandpa. It's my dad's dad. He has been to so many tournaments I can't even explain. Like, he's been to all my older sister's volleyball tournaments, been to all of mine, been to my younger sisters, and we had this deal that if we got an ace, we would get $1.
Oh.
So yeah, but if we missed our serve, he would take $1 away.
Oh, okay.
Okay. A lot of times, like, it'd be funny because there'd be like a club tournament where the teams, like, on the first day, the teams weren't very good. So you get like 10 aces. He's like, it's gonna make me broke. I can't pay for that. Like, but there's always been times where it's like I missed and I like evened out. So I was like right at 0 and he would still give me $5 because he's just an amazing person.
Awesome. Yeah,
my biggest supporter. I like to say that I'm the favorite grandchild. And this is why. So when I was younger, so my oldest sister, Whitney, she didn't like Elvis. She didn't like his music at the time. And Bumpa, that's his favorite artist. Like, he is Elvis's #1 fan. Like, we'll ask like things like, oh, do you remember this time in your life, like when this happened? He's like, no, but I remember all of Elvis's songs. I remember those. Yeah, so my oldest sister, Whitney, she didn't like it, but I loved Elvis. And I think that's where our bond happened, because I was the one who liked his music.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been my best friend and I love him very much.
Awesome. All right. You can blame Peter for that one.
It's okay.
All right.
He deserves to be mentioned. It's so funny because he will come to the games and you would hear him like just scream, like, go Houston, or like, go UConn. Like, he would be the loudest in the crowd and everyone in the family would be like, Daryl, be quiet. And I'm like, say it again.
Awesome. So now, you met my daughter last year at one of the volleyball camps, and I got to say, you guys were awesome. It was so much fun for them. You guys didn't mail it in. You made them work. They had such a blast. How much fun do you enjoy doing those?
Yeah, it's always fun to like get out and see like the community and see people who are fans of UConn volleyball and work with kids. Like, I always enjoy like spreading my knowledge of the sport and like spreading like the keys of tips that helped me grow as a player and like give it to everyone else. It's always fun. We have a lot of people on the team who have a lot of energy because the camps are as fun as we make it. Yeah. So if we're not going to have that energy, the kids aren't going to have fun energy. So we have a lot of good group of girls that want to make it fun. And I think that's what makes our camp special.
Excellent. All right. So I got some questions sent in to me by, a Facebook group, a mom's volleyball face group. And I said, hey, I'm going to talk to a Division I senior. What questions? So, here's a few of them. So So one of them was talking about in the international men's game, they're doing a lot of like sort of scooped bent elbow digging. Do you see
Yeah.
that coming to the collegiate level? And, is it worth girls learning that style of technique?
So yes, I have been seeing it too, where it's like this,
Yeah.
and like, you're not putting like your platform together. Um, I think that with the speed of the game growing, I feel like that is going to grow. I haven't really perfected it. Like there's times where like I cushion my platform, but I don't like go like this because I feel like
It feels
it would
awkward.
hit. And yes, but one thing I am doing, been trying to do better is like when you go to like run down a ball or like it's like a tip, instead of like going like this,
Yeah.
I've been trying to like this because it's
Ah,
it's very rare that they would call a lift on it. It's not like completely out of the picture if they do.
right.
So you gotta be a little careful. You can't like but like you have to like, but if you hit it like with your hand, like you have more control.
That's true.
And like I'd watch clips on Instagram. I'm like, oh, I was like, let me try that. And I brought in like our DS, Bella Sui, and I was like, okay, let's try this. Like I feel like it's something that we could both do to like to be better at it, because I feel like there's times where like you hit it with like the knuckle and
Right.
it goes static and it's like you don't have control. So I'm like, let's do this. Another thing that I'm gonna put claim on and inventing is the double pancake.
The double pancake?
Like you go like
Oh, you
this.
get more.
Right, because like this surface area is so small.
Yeah,
I
you
have
get
small
double.
hands. I'm like, let's double it and try to. Like, I remember I did it at Creighton. I think we were playing Marquette at Creighton during the tournament, and I dove with like two hands and pancake like
Yeah.
this. Peter was like, "Did you just double pancake?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did, and I kind of like it because more surface area."
Yeah.
I was like, "Please, please, please." But
And you
yeah,
got two hands to support you as you're, instead of.
yeah, yeah.
I like that. That's a good one. All right. What have you learned over years of playing ball at UConn Houston that you wish you knew then, back then when you started your career?
I would like myself to know that it's never that serious. It is just a game.
Yep.
I do take it very seriously, obviously. It's my life, but there was a point in time where it was too much of my life, where it would be like if I don't have a good practice, I would have a horrible rest of my day, because all I would think about is, why did I make that error? Why did I not go for that ball? And it was like it overtook too much of my mind.
Yeah.
So I think that I would tell myself that you need to have a healthy balance of life and volleyball, and it's just because you like don't let volleyball define you too much. Because there was a point in time where it's like, okay, I had a bad day and it would ruin my rest of my day. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, we just did this drill again. Why was my platform not good enough? Why am I not in the starting lineup? Why don't they like me? Why didn't they do this? Like a lot of it overtook my mind.
Yeah.
And if I knew that, Karly, it's not that serious. This is just life. Like this is just a section of your life. It's not going to be like, I would just tell myself to have a healthy balance between volleyball and life.
Excellent. All right. Next question. Any college myths that you were told as as an athlete before, or as sports, as a volleyball player before going to college or younger, like that's a myth from a college standpoint. It's like, no, nobody has this, or nobody gets cars, or I don't know, something silly.
There's one time I went to a volleyball camp and this coach was like, you have three sections, three circles, and you have your social life, your academics, and your volleyball. You can only be good at two. Because if you have a social life and you're like having tons of fun with your friends, whatever, and then you go to practice and you practice all the time, your academics are going to be bad. If you put all your thought into academics and volleyball, your social life is going to be bad. And so I was like thinking about it at the time. I was like, yeah, he's right. Like I can only be good at two. And I'm like, actually, that's not even true, because like you need to have a balance of all three.
Yeah.
You need to focus on academics. You need to be focusing on volleyball. You need to have some time with your friends so you're not being overwhelmed by those type of things. So I think like that was a myth. Obviously, to an extent where it's like if you need to get your homework done, you have to sacrifice some of your social life.
Yep.
For that moment. But he made it seem of like
you can only do two.
You can't have friends. You have to have academics and volleyball.
All right. Excellent.
I think that was
All right.
With
And the last question is, what do you think are some of the biggest factors that separate, players that make it and play at college versus the ones that didn't make it? Is it their drive? Is it, the hunger? What do you think it is?
I think it's a lot of grit, and it's hunger, kind of like you said. It's being willing to like never give up on yourself or the program type of thing. I think people who go in and they are expected something from like, oh, well, I committed here. So, and I was good in high school, I should be able to play and be like a starter and do all of this. Where I think that isn't the case. And I feel like if you need some thick skin, so there's going to be times where like you're going to get yelled at for not doing your job. That's not a bad thing. That is a good thing. Like they're holding you to a standard. And I think there's a lot of times where girls are like, well, this isn't right. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. And it's like you need to switch your mindset of, well, what are they doing? I'm not doing anything wrong to, okay, this happened. How am I gonna fix it? And I think what that helped me a lot, because my dad and my parents, my mom and dad, like push it. Like I would call and I'd be like, they didn't put me in the starting lineup. I wasn't good today. Like, I don't know why they're doing this. And instead of being like, oh yeah, like those coaches are dumb, I don't know why they're doing, they're like, okay, so what are you going to do to fix it?
Yeah.
And I think you need that type of mindset to make it in the college world.
Yeah. Well, and even for the freshmen coming into college, they're coming from where they were, or their club teams where they're the stars, and now they're the freshmen. You may be riding the bench, and that's gotta, you've gotta just sort of suck it up, and like you said, how can you improve? What do you need to do to make it better? All right, so now what do you like to do away from the court?
Something I do now, a hobby of now. I love to dress up and go take pictures. That's like my favorite thing ever to do. Like I'm like, oh, we have a day off.
Yeah.
What would be great is a brunch, cute outfits, and a picture. Love doing that. I like to be outdoors and like hiking. Like there's been a trail that I went on here that was really pretty. I love to lay also. It's kind of counter of what I just said, but I also love to lay in bed and watch a good movie.
Yeah.
Always need that here and there.
What's your go-to movie?
My comfort movie would probably be Crazy Rich Asians. That one's always so good. I cry every time at the wedding scene. I'm like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, that's my comfort movie.
All right. So, you survived the podcast, but before I go, I got to ask you to call out somebody in your circle, whether it's a past coach, player, who would be a good person to come on and share their story.
Well, I actually heard you're bringing on Matt Scott.
Yes, he's coming on.
That's kind of crazy. He swiped up on my story and he was like, I'm going to be on there. I'm like, oh gosh, that was crazy. Actually, someone who I think would be good from a different perspective is, so her name is Megan Renner. I played club with her. She was my setter. She played volleyball at Purdue. She unfortunately had to undergo like ACL surgery, and she ended up medically retiring. And I think it'd be nice to hear from like a Power 5 school who is historically like known to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And like how she has adjusted to her life from being a volleyball player to medically retiring.
All right, there we go. Well, let her know. I'm going to be reaching out to her, and you have to twist her arm.
Yeah, I'll let her know.
All right. Well, Karly, thank you so much for doing this. Good luck to you on the last couple of games, and enjoy your senior night. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.